Hi Batty for RPG Day 2018, Day 27, share a great stream or actual play. Well, as you can see today I'm wearing a bit of a silly outfit again, and I've got the mask for Rolfang and other aspects in the background. So I'm not one to be embarrassed about wearing silly stuff, and I've actually had some decent sleep the last few days, so road to recovery finally seems to be happening again, well, until the next relapse. So there's been a lot of negativity regarding this sort of area of roleplay, although that's partly down to obviously gatekeeping, and partly I think down to confusion, and a little bit of an aspect about the sort of linearity in thinking that some people get, even though in theory roleplay is an extremely broad, diverse and infinite potential as a hobby. So it can be a bit strange when we hear sort of negative comments that sort of narrow the range of what role playing can be or what is role play, when there's so many different types out there. So I wasn't actually going to answer this question initially, partly to avoid being negative, which I'm almost doing now, and partly because although I've watched a fair few number of actual plays or streams, I'm not a regular watcher of anything. But I know quite a lot of other people do, and I thought they could have, actually add something more useful than I can, and maybe I should tackle another question. But then the positivity of the RPG days actually shone through, so although I have seen quite a few negative comments today, I've also seen a lot of positive comments, and I was particularly impressed with Runeslinger's blog and his video regarding this, and Ivan Mike and some other people talking. There's actually a bit of a list, it'd be too long to explain, but I'll put it in the blog. And that got me thinking about, well, why do people end up with this narrow view about things? Why in a hobby of potentiality do we end up with, people saying like this is what roleplay is, when roleplay is potentially everything? And I think this partly comes down, there's a lot of people within our hobby, some of whom have their own insecurities, and acting, and particularly voice acting as well, it's a pretty sophisticated skill set to have, and not everybody, for example, that goes LARPing is an amazing actor or, very physically able or even mentally able. People have got all sorts of problems, as well as, temporary problems as well. So amazing players can have bad weekends, and of course, vice versa. People that normally struggle, things can go well for them for a period of time, and they go to an event and they're just amazing. And obviously the same at tabletop. So the kind of thinking that got down is, why am I talking about this question? I mean, I've not actually touched on an actual stream yet, but it got me thinking about, we can expand the idea of what role play is, and, be reminded that it's whatever we want it to be. So if someone wants to do a performance or to do an improv style, to go on, have $1 million from Wizard of the Coast or whatever Critical Role gets, I have no idea. The kind of production values that they can put on adds something else to the hobby. It's another bolt on. It shouldn't be thought of as taking away or deducting or diminishing. And granted, some new people may think that, say, Critical Role or Harmon Quest that is what Dungeons and Dragons is, and or that is what role playing is as a general. And well, yeah, they're new. They're not going to know a lot, and maybe they think The Big Bang Theory is particularly funny, and that's another debate. It's all right. I can enjoy it whilst hating it, and maybe they think that's what Dungeons and Dragons and, again, World of Warcraft or whatever, when that's not really what it is. It's almost like a parody or even satire of the actual hobbies. And that's kind of how Big Bang Theory works. So, I mean, back to the point about streaming and being positive. So, maybe we need to sort of talk more about the fact that all types of roleplay are technically valid, and all skill levels, of course, are actually valid, which the majority of veteran players have either chosen to ignore, in the case of some of the people that inclined along the gatekeeping or are mad by new people saying things. Let's not call them news, because, labelling, negative labels and all the connotations that come with it. Whereas, by and large, again, this RPG day actually shows there's lots of positive comments of people saying, well, I don't watch many actual plays, but they're a great addition to the hobby, and it's great they've brought new people in, as well as other veteran players who play all sorts of things, and they embrace the diversity of different play styles and different options, and of course entertainment. And of course, other little things as well. You know, you can be doing housework, you can be sorting out some cooking and have something on in the background. So instead of it being a TV show or a TED talk, like in my case typically, why not put an actual play on? So along those lines, I've actually watched some of the what was it? The actual name, Happy Jack's RPG, The Darknet. I've watched some of that. Recently, Rufflejacks's Bluebeard's Bride. That was very interesting. Shield of Tomorrow's on my to-do list as a Star Trek fan, but I haven't got round to it yet to do with time. And again, this RPG day is showing me a few people that it's kind of got me intrigued to know a little bit about them and also sort of their opinion on certain aspects of roleplay. So now, of course, I'm wondering what their actual play style is like. So being able to look at their streams and the RPG upgrade. So you've got Kevin Madison at Dungeon using the GM's table, Anthony obviously Runeslinger, and I'd be intrigued to see what Dave Chapman is and all these other people. And there's lots of other people that I've been following lots of tweets and trying to actually like as many as I can and actually read what they say. And there's been some surprising aspects, and of course that then makes you think, well, if they think that about this particular subject, then what's their play style like? Because again, we're talking about almost infinite potential people approaches to these things. So yeah, I've ended up tackling the question, and I hope also if anyone out there is feeling a bit negative, maybe this video could be pointed at them to consider the fact that all types are valid, and even if someone's rubbish at roleplay, it doesn't really matter, or it shouldn't do. The fact they're actually playing and in theory having fun, that's great. And of course, with the online gaming side of things, we can find groups out there. Just a matter of looking and trying. Additional, I forgot to mention the fact that many years ago, in fact 20 something years ago, my groups have kept meticulous notes for well over 20 years now. And one of the players decided to start recording some of our sessions. And that way it'd be easy to go through the audio notes and actually see what's being discussed and how it would pan out. Unfortunately, we didn't keep those recordings, and they were full of obviously epic moments, but also I admit they were full of people just being silly and having a laugh, which is fine. We weren't trying to entertain anybody else, we were just playing for ourselves. I have discussed over the years doing some sort of recording again. It either gets a raised eyebrow or a slight little shake of the head. So I haven't gone into things. With the various LARPers that I've played with over the years, I've thought about maybe they'd be up for doing stuff on camera. And of course I've met some people who are amazing LARPers and also happen to be drama students and professional actors. And well, everyone's busy and time and money and production values. And it's kind of a little bit of a joke, but I'm actually quite serious. After leaving KHC Games, I did think about doing as part of PBM tutorials and explaining things. Because obviously it's a bit of a niche hobby, and I think it can be modernised in a lot of ways, but that's just my pet theories. So doing actual plays of PBM. But I won't go into that, I'll save that for another occasion, because A, it will take too long to prove the point, and B, I'm not really set up to prove the point, so I'm probably, barking up the wrong tree. So